caught yourself doing something you're not sure why you do it that way? That's called a habit. And we're going to talk about habits because I think a lot of times in our lives, what tends to hold us back from moving forward and from growing is our habits. There are some habits, mind you, that are beneficial and good and that help us grow. But most habits, if you think about them, are things that have been developed through time that we have a tendency to just be stuck and fixated on. Habits. What kind of habits do you have in your day? Think about when you first wake up, what is your first habit? Is your habit to brush your teeth or to skip that? It's a habit, right? But mainly the kind of habits I'm talking about, not just routine, but habits. It's like you've seen that kid that picks his nose and no one's told him anything, and now he's a grown man and he's still picking his nose. I had a leader like that once, and this man would be digging up his nose, and you're like, you're a grown man picking your nose. But probably because it's been a habit, it's been habitual in his life. It's an unconscious tendency that he can't help sometimes because no one's really ever told him that otherwise, or it's just because he's just been repetitively doing this same thing over and over again, and now it's just second nature. And that's what habits are, second nature. But the reality here is these second nature things that we do and say, you have to be honest. Are they beneficial for you and beneficial for others? We're looking at the fully fed mind here because the fully fed mind, when it comes to habits, affects others, affects our relationships, it affects our emotions, it affects our actions, it affects everything. Think about people who are smokers, who habitually smoke and they can't help it. It's an addiction, right? At first it's a habit, then it becomes an addiction. It becomes that thing that they have to do when they first wake up in the morning and they have to have one or two before they start their day. What's your habit? What are your habits? Because a lot of us have multiple plethora of habits that we tend to do in our day-to-day life. Some good, some not so good. What's your habit when you're stressed? Some people go to alcohol or a cigarette or pornography or whatever it is. Some people go to relationships or they push away from relationships when they're stressed or anxious. Think about what you do when you are dealing with hard times. We tend to go into our habits, and in particular our negative habits. Those are the kind of things that we tend to lean towards when things are not going our way. It's our habits. Think about kids that bite their nails. A lot of times people who bite their nails, whether it's a child or an adult, it's because habitually in their mind, whenever they're going through something rough or tough, or they're bored or whatever it is, they go right to biting their nails. Or playing with their hair or eating their hair or whatever it is, you know? Those habits affect everything. They affect your social life. They affect your relationships. They affect your job sometimes. There's people that try to sneak in that bottle of alcohol at work and they drink at work, or they are taking too many smoke breaks, or they're sneaking pornography at work because that's their release from stress, because that's their habit. They're wired and they have a tendency to do that thing. But here's the thing. How do we get and develop better habits? Better things that are going to help grow us and motivate us. Good habits. There are good habits out there. I don't want to just harp on the negative habits you have, because we all have them. We all wrestle with them and work hard against them. And sometimes we try to work against it and try to stop them, but it's hard. It's like sucking your thumb as a kid, and your parents are trying to stop you from sucking your thumb, so they try to, put that nastiness on your thumb or whatever it is they try to do to stop you from sucking your thumb. Your natural habit is to go bite your thumb and sucking your thumb. Probably not a good idea. It's gonna mess with your teeth. It's gonna give you that snaggletooth look. You have to have expensive, orthodontic work afterwards. Habits have an effect. They have a first and second order effect on our lives. And these habits are hard to give up because they're comfort things. The things that make us feel somewhat safe. What is your habit? What is that regular tendency that you just go to? Think about that. Ask yourself that, what is my habit? Do you tend to complain or vent or stress out or drink or smoke or watch something you shouldn't be watching, do something you shouldn't be doing, go to the bar? I don't know. We all have them. So then how do we cut the negative habits and how do we develop better habits? So I don't want to just give you the problem without giving you some kind of solution. So here's the problem: negative habits that don't really build anything in our lives. And then we have, how do we cut those habits and develop better ones that will benefit us and others? Well, first of all, we have to identify them. We have to be honest in our assessment of what our habits are. If we do something repetitively and without even thinking, sometimes a tendency that's our quick tendency to do something, that's a habit. And then you have to ask that honest question: is this a good habit to have? Will it affect me in the long run? Will it affect others in the long run? And if the answer is yes, in a negative way, then that's something you need to identify and realize, bad habit. Okay, we've identified it. So we have to be honest. We have to identify it. And then once we identify it, how do we cut back on it? Well, there's various ways to cut back on bad habits. Partially, you need a partner. You need someone to help you through that bad habit. You can't do it on your own. That's why AA meetings exist, because it's that camaraderie, it's that accountability of stopping yourself from drinking when your first tendency is to drink. Or people who have celebrate recovery groups all throughout the United States for addiction, different kinds of addictions and habits. Again, habits. People who are addicted to porn is a good example. As soon as they feel like they need to get on there, their habit, they're having a bad day or stress at work or whatever it is, their first inclination is to get on the porn site on their phone, which is so accessible nowadays. Maybe they should call their sponsor, right? And that's what they do. They call their sponsor, they call their partner, accountability partner. And that's what we need to look at is, again, we have to be honest, we have to identify, but we also have to have someone to help us along the way. Life is not meant to live alone. We're not meant to go through and navigate our lives alone. We're meant to navigate our lives with people who can keep us accountable, who can strengthen us, who can, when we're weak, they're strong, and when they're weak, we're strong, and we help develop each other together. We're meant that way. We're wired that way. That's how God made us. So again, once we identify what they are and what our habits are, and the honesty, and find out that right person to help us along the way, then I would suggest maybe even writing down the habits. Write down kind of what your bad habits are. Now that you've identified it, you've identified the person, you write them down about what triggers those habits. So, for instance, I'll give an example. Stress triggers alcohol consumption. Stress equals biting nails, right? Stress equals overeating. That's a habit too. So we have to identify what is the cause and then what is the effect, what is the trigger to that habit. Once we identify the trigger, then we can start looking at, okay, here's a trigger, what can I do to substitute the habit? We have to develop better habits. And it's not going to be overnight. It's not going to be a quick thing that's going to happen very fast, very quick. It's going to be a slow developing process that's going to help us move forward, cut back the negative habits, and replace it with something more conducive and more healthy, and it's going to help benefit you and the people around you. Once you do that, your mind will be in a better state, your relationships will be healthier, your job will be more secure, all those things. You'll be in a better physical state of mind. You won't be overeating. You won't be over drinking. You won't be smoking. Those kind of things. Again, habits. What triggers it? And then how do we replace that? And then find something that you can replace it with. I'll give another example. Stress. The best way to alleviate stress, one of the best ways, is exercise, right? Exercise. You build up endorphins, or the happy hormone, right? And when you build those happy hormones, you tend to kind of melt away the stress. But maybe exercise isn't for you. Maybe you're injured or you just can't do exercise. There's other ways to build up endorphins. You can alleviate stress through music. You can alleviate stress through painting, through doing something you enjoy, a good hobby, going for a walk, going for a hike, going fishing, getting out in nature, being around people that love you and care for you. That's how we develop better habits. Instead of here's triggering events, and we'll go straight to the negative habits, going to get more damage than good, and then we're going to regret that and go back, and it's going to be an ongoing cycle of I did something bad, I feel bad because of this, because I did this bad thing, I feel negative emotions and feelings, so I'm going to go back to doing another thing that's going to just my bad habit. It's going to go over and over and over again until we're defeated and destroyed, and that's not what we want. So my challenge to you is identify, be honest with your habits. Be honest. And find something that's healthy. Again, maybe ask that accountability partner, what would you suggest? What would you think about this as a good substitute for when this triggering event in my life happens? How do I cope with it? How do I move forward? How do I grow from it? What's a good habit to distract me from the situation at hand? That way I'm not going back to the old way, the old me, and moving forward and developing better habits in my life that are going to help grow me and strengthen me into a better person. The challenge for you is find your habit, cut it back, cut it out, and find something new that's going to help you grow. I'm Coach AJ, and you just watched another episode of Living Fully Fit. Take care. If you like what you watched, make sure to subscribe down below. Go to Living Fully Fit on Facebook, as well as YouTube. Check me out. All kinds of new content, old content. If you haven't watched all the old videos, check them out. There might be something that pertains to you. Even if it doesn't pertain to you, it might help someone else you know. So subscribe and share. Help spread the word of Living Fully Fit. The idea of this whole program is to get people balanced in the right mind, heart, soul, body, and relationships to be fully balanced and equalized to live the best life they can, to be fully fit in your day-to-day lives. Thanks for watching. Make sure to check us out, and hopefully you guys have a blessed and wonderful day.